Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bitcoin for Family show, where every guest is your new BFF. That's your Bitcoin friend forever. I'm Scott from Shamri, and it's an honor to have you here once again. Thanks to everyone who has been watching or listening. I hope you're finding the show fun and educational. And if you've been enjoying the show, I'd love it if you liked, subscribed, and shared. If you're really feeling generous, go ahead and drop a comment or a review as well. Every bit helps in spreading the word to other families. Now, on to this week's show. I'm excited to welcome a mother of two to the show. Thanks for taking the time to join, Umi Miahara.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, it was great to meet you in person for the first time in Vegas
Yes.
a month or so ago. Have Danny, our mutual friend at Breeze, connect us up and say, hey, Umi would be great for the show. So always fun to meet in person and then also get connected through mutual contacts.
Likewise.
Well, we will dive into kind of the questions, but before we do that, maybe just give the audience a general high-level overview of kind of who's in your family, how many kids are there, whatever you're comfortable sharing to set the stage.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a mother too. As Scott mentioned, I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. Also, they probably might count. We also have 5 cats. So probably mother of 7. And our family lives in New York, in Brooklyn right now.
Very nice. Well, the cats are a nice addition to. I didn't know about that side of things, so maybe we'll get some pet questions in as well. Did the pets predate the kids?
Yes, we were living in Japan and we got 5 kittens. We were 5 cats, and then we brought them all over from Japan to New York.
International cats.
Yes.
That's interesting. We'll come back to that topic. That's cool. Okay, well, the icebreakers. So let's dive into some fun topics here. So what's the most unexpected thing that's made you laugh recently?
So I haven't watched it fully, but I've been bombarded with clips of K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix. And I think there is a clip of, there's a character, and you can tell I love cats because I have 5 cats, but there's a tiger called Derpy Tiger. And it's a funny tiger, probably has some OCD, keeps on knocking over this like pot of flowers. And I didn't think I would laugh that hard, but I did when I saw that clip.
Very nice. That's funny you bring that up. One of my sisters just brought that show up to me the other day. I hadn't heard of it. Neither
Yes.
had my wife. She said that she also has a 6-year-old, like our oldest. So she was like, oh, you have to have Charlotte watch it. And she was saying she enjoyed, at the parent level as well, and thought it was
Yes.
funny. So
Yeah.
that's 2 people in the span of a couple of days. So the Netflix marketing is doing well. We will get into some of this deeper as the conversation goes on, but you guys just got back from a Japan trip.
Yes.
What was the best meal you had while you were in Japan?
Oh my gosh. Well, I actually don't eat meat. I'm a pescatarian. And so we eat a lot of fish when we're there. And some of the best meals, it's hard when you're with kids. We stayed with another family in an Airbnb. So kind of like home Japanese cooking was really, really good. But I think in terms of the food is all good in Japan. Even like the worst food you can get is always generally good. Best meal experience I had is we went to a place where there's robots that serve food, but it's like a robot cat that like has these plates that you can put on it, and it was like hot pot, and it would come and like bring out different things, and the kids loved it. The kids would like get in front of it and the robot would be confused. It was like, please move. And it was really, I don't know. It was just like a super fun experience. I think they have that in some of the restaurants here now. So certain chains, but yeah, that was really fun.
That does sound interesting, and definitely played up your love of cats too. So the kids were happy, the food was good, and everybody was entertained. So
Yes.
At the parent level, that makes everybody happy. Icebreaker number 3, when you were a kid, what was your dream job?
I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to be a mechanical aerospace engineer to be the mission specialist astronaut, the one that gets to leave the space shuttle and go do things and do experiments.
That would be awesome.
Things that no other people haven't done before. Be like the first to try things.
Very nice. Did you ever attempt to actually make that a reality, or
Oh
did
my
the
gosh,
dream die?
that was mechanical aerospace engineering was my major for a while, and then I actually switched colleges and became a linguistics major. So
Got it. Took a U-turn.
it ended, yeah.
Very nice. If you actually, maybe side question, if your kids wanted to be an astronaut, would you be happy about that, or would you be nervous?
Yeah, no, I think it's super cool, and it depends on like why they would want to be. But yeah, I'd support whatever they do.
Those questions always pop on the back of my head with certain jobs where you're like, oh, that'd be awesome, but then there's the dangers, and who knows what it would be like.
Yeah.
Okay, icebreaker number 4. If you could live in any fictional book or movie world, which one would you choose?
My gosh. I don't know. You know what? This is just because it's something recently. I was reading The Phantom Tollbooth with my son, and ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to see what it'd be like to live in that world where the Phantom Tollbooth, where there's Dictionopolis, and there's a market where they're selling letters, and you could bite into like a juicy A. It's like it's probably not the answer that most people will give, but it's just because I was recently reading the book with my child. I think I love the Phantom Tollbooth and kind of the play on words that it has and like the wonderful quirky world it brings.
That's funny. I haven't thought about that book for a long time, but that's one
Right?
that our daughter would probably enjoy too. I hadn't thought of about it as an option, so I'm glad you brought it up. We'll have to go find it out there. So perfect. And last one, what's a random fact about yourself that always surprises people?
I can ride a unicycle, but it's not that random in Japan. It's random outside of Japan because most Japanese people, if you ask them if they grew up in Japan, can ride a unicycle.
Interesting. Is there
Yeah.
a reason for that?
They have it in schools, like in elementary schools. My son, when we went back, we put him in a Japanese school. So elementary school, he went there for 2 weeks before they went on summer vacation. And every Japanese school usually has a bunch of unicycles, just like for kids to play and ride on during recess or like to have fun. And unicycles and stilts. And I think so. I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that the Japanese government, or before maybe like the educational programs in Japan from the past, they wanted to instill a good sense of balance. So all these Japanese schools have unicycles and kids just learn how to ride on them. So you'll see just kids riding on them. And I used to go back to Japan in the summers and I learned how to ride a unicycle.
Very nice. So you can still do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Do you see people going down the streets on them, like adults, or
Like
is it
in
more still the
like
kids thing?
no, it's like a kid thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's a kid thing. Yeah, yeah.
Very cool. That's definitely a skill that probably if you don't pick it up as a kid, you're probably not likely to pick it up as an adult, just based on balance and alone.
Yeah.
But that's a cool theory, and the balance aspect, being able to do that makes logical sense in my brain. So we'll go with it as being true. Great. Well, hopefully that let everybody get to know you in a fun way a little bit more. We'll kind of dive into the family story a little bit. Maybe start at the beginning. Where did you grow up? You kind of mentioned Japan a few times, but maybe kind of where
Yeah,
did you grow up?
I'm born and raised in the U.S. So I grew
Okay.
up in New York, in the Upper West Side and in Queens. And then when I was probably around 10 or 11, I moved to Illinois in the northwest suburbs. And then I went to college in the U.S. And after college, I moved to Japan.
Got it.
So
Very nice. What kind of in general, what was your childhood like? You mentioned moving a few times. Do you have siblings or that side of
I
things?
am an only child. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. And how did you and your husband meet?
My husband and I, that's interesting. So we are both endurance athletes, and I used to do a lot of endurance races. So long distance triathlons like Ironman length or ultra marathons. The biggest, or the, for me, what's the one that's left like an impact on me, I did this 250-kilometer race in the Sahara Desert called the Marathon des Sables. And it's a 7-day stage race. So I did that. It's a long-winded way of saying, like, my husband does pre-kids. We used to do a lot of, I have to ask the pre-phrase, pre-kids, we used to do a lot of long-distance races together and, like, Ironmans together and things like that. But I met him because I was part of this team that wanted to swim from a part of this island off of Japan called Oshima, which was 60 kilometers away from the mainland in Japan. And it was a relay race, I feel like, of 8 people. And we would swim in the ocean for 30 minutes with a big boat where the rest of the team is on the boat. There's a small outrigger canoe, the type that, like, Moana is, her boat is like an outrigger canoe. So there'll be one person on an outrigger canoe that would guide the swimmer, and it has a shark shield to prevent sharks from coming close. And you would swim for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, a person would jump off of the big boat, high five, and that's like the torch pass or the baton pass. And you would still be guided by the outrigger canoe. And we would like do this throughout the night. So I was part of this team that did that kind of for fun and to raise money. And my husband was one of the coaches that was coaching the swimmers. So that's how we met. We met in the pool training for this, and we both ended up being into triathlons and stuff. So that's how we met.
That's awesome. Did you guys ever start competing on teams together once you guys met and started doing it?
I mean, because we were doing more, it's more individual sports, like individual triathlons, individual like marathons and races and things like that.
So you're just trying to beat each other then?
Basically, obviously he's much faster than me, so we'll all train together with our group of friends and things like that. Yeah, or travel together too. Races are a lot of times destinations, so you'll all go and travel together.
So obviously, like you mentioned, that does get harder once the kids come into the
Oh my
picture. But
gosh, yeah.
yeah,
I think it's hard to find time to train. It's hard to, yeah. And there's always like, you can't train together. So I actually don't think I've ran with my husband since we've had kids. One person will go run. One person's looking after kids and you can't do things together that you did before. I mean,
yep. No, we know that drill in our household. Start the day off that way, kind of rotating, getting breakfast ready,
yeah,
and
it's all rotation.
somebody's
Yeah.
exercising, somebody's waking the kids up,
Yeah.
and then vice versa. So for sure, but at least you got that family bond. And I guess, I don't know, at least for us, it's still a way to kind of set that healthy lifestyle example for your kids. So even if you're
Yeah.
not training for marathons like you were, I'm sure that your kids seeing your husband and you still being active is part of your parental plan and kind of the type of thing you're trying to teach them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and obviously, you mentioned you're in New York now, Brooklyn, and kind of living in that big city experience. Kind of how's that shaped? Kind of how you formed your family, kind of being in that big city versus you mentioned living in a smaller area when you were growing up too.
Yeah, I think so. I grew up in the city, like on the Upper West Side and in Queens, which is in Forest Hills, Queens. And I remember loving living in a city as a kid. I had so many great memories of just hanging out in Central Park or going to all these museums on a whim, and you could just have fun and you walk around and you just meet friends. And then I moved to a suburb in Illinois and I felt so isolated. To go to a friend's house, you need to have someone be able to drive you. You can't just be like, I'm going to walk down the block, or can you just walk me down the block? Or, there were no kids nearby in the immediate houses that were my age. And I just felt or everybody's playing in their own backyard, not at playgrounds. So I felt so isolated. And I have a driver's license, but I think I lived in Tokyo after college for over a decade, like 11, 12 years. And Tokyo is a walkable city and it has very good transportation. So public transport. And I didn't realize how much I valued that living in a place that's walkable and a place with good public transportation. So my husband and I, when I was pregnant with my first, we did like and I wanted to come back to the US to raise my kids, but we did a tour. We went to New York, Boston, and because we were both triathletes, we went to like Colorado. We could have gone to a couple more places, but we went to places where we all also had friends. But Colorado, we didn't. But like Colorado, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, LA, San Francisco, and I love New York. So we chose New York. And I think Colorado, I had such like big I think we went to Boulder and we had an expectation, like all these trails and all these outdoors, but I just felt so alone. And you would make friends. I know you'd make friends and things like that, but I think, yeah, New York, you go out and you'll meet people. Like, it's funny because in the city, like a lot of people have a stereotype of New Yorkers, and maybe in Manhattan, but where we live, it's very much a community vibe. And you go to a playground and there's always lots of kids playing and you'll run into someone or you'll make a friend, a parent friend, or your kids will make a friend or run into like 3 friends without having to like schedule a play date. You could always have some kind of social interaction and community. So I realize I value that a lot, and that's why we've kind of settled here, even though there's obviously lots of cons with the pros. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally understand that. It's so your husband he's not originally from New
He's
York, so
he's from Japan. He's
yeah, that's right.
Japanese.
So when you guys were going through that process, was he on the same page too, or was it kind of
Yeah, I think it's even doubly harder for him. It's even more isolating if you have to depend on a car, and then if it's like a brand new place, you really have to put yourself out there to meet your people and make community in different ways.
totally? And do you guys have extended family around you?
We don't. My parents are in California. They go back and forth between California and Japan.
Got it. Yep. So what's that like? I know there's kind of the benefit of having that family around you and you can have, free babysitters and that sort of stuff. But then there's the aspect of not having it. So
Yeah.
maybe for those parents out there who are in that similar situation, how you guys handle kind of the balance of that life, being able to not have that reliability of family members around.
Yeah. It's hard, I think, but you make it work. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Well, and then the other aspect I always think about, we're in San Diego, which is a bigger
Oh,
city.
that's
Not like,
amazing.
yeah, so
Yeah.
not as big as New York, obviously, but a bigger city. And, I was born and raised here. My wife came from a very small town in Ohio that she left when she was in high school. And one thing I always think about, not that we ever plan on leaving, but if we did, like say we said, oh, we want to go somewhere that's, cheaper or, more space or whatnot, maybe we enjoy it. Who knows? But like you said, when the kids get older, they're probably going to want to leave because they're going to want to go do something and be more entertained. Whereas if you're already in a city like whether it's a San Diego or New York or Boston, like you mentioned, or Denver, whatever it is, there's probably more likelihood that even if they leave for college or something, they'll hopefully maybe come back or be around.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're living in a super small town, you might get in that situation where you're going off and having to visit your kids as they're having kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's something that always pops in the back of my head.
Yeah.
You mentioned also kind of there are pitfalls potentially of living in the big city. What are some of those that you guys think about as a family?
I mean, it's like US in general, and I guess New York. But so I'll preface this with a bit of context. So I'm most familiar, obviously, with Japan and kids in Japan because I spend time with my kids in Japan. And in Japan, it's very safe. It's very clean. Service is very good. That comes with its own reasons, like pros and cons there. It's kind of like a bubble society. And it's like a closed way of thinking. It's like herd mentality a lot of times, but it protects. With that protection comes all the conveniences, right? Of safety, and of just a good quality of life. For example, in Japan, my son, any child that is 6 or in elementary school, they can walk to school by themselves. They can come home. I think there was like a Netflix show that showed us. It's like their first shopping trip. So my son, this time he's 7, so he could walk to school by himself. Kids walk themselves back home to their after school activity from school. They'll take the train by themselves to go to their after school activity, whether it's like swimming, and they'll go home. And kids can shop. So I sent my son to go buy out of eggs in the morning. So I'm like, here's some money. Can you go buy eggs at the supermarket down the street? And he could go and do that. You cannot do that here, especially in New York. Maybe in certain parts of the US you can, but you can't. And it's illegal. You cannot leave your child alone. And yeah, but I think kids are really independent in Japan in that sense. They have like GPS markers and they've got like a safety phone and they've got like an alarm they can pull if they're in danger and things like they have all of that protection with them. But also, I think in New York, you're also taught to be street smart in a sense. Like, there's like dangers out there and you're hyper aware of it from when you're little because, adults will tell you, even like if people don't pick up after their pets and like, there's dog poop everywhere. You're like, no, you need to like watch out so you don't step in something bad in New York. Where in Japan, I feel like you're a little bit, you're independent, but you're kind of in this like bubble. And when you leave that bubble, if you traveled, this was in the past, still probably like Japanese tourists were easily targeted for pickpockets if you're traveling like in different places of the world because they have their guard. They're the people that have their guard down the most because they're living in such a safe society, so they don't know to be like hyper aware. So it's pros and cons. We try to take, we go to Japan in the summer and try to take the pros of living there, the different experiences our kids can have in both sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so do you guys try to go back every summer? Is it kind of
We're going to try. I think since COVID opened up, we've been trying to go every year. So to keep up my children's Japanese and just their connection to the culture and for them to have, to experience kind of their culture and heritage.
And your husband's family is still there, so they're able to connect with extended family, which I'm sure is amazing. One, you mentioned a few times, but being able to actually go to school there for a few weeks, that's something unique.
Yeah,
that, in the States, I don't think that would necessarily be quote unquote allowed, but how does that really work? You can kind of just go for a few weeks or?
Yeah, in Japan, you can put in your residency or you can also, they have a program. They want, I think, a lot of people maybe abroad to come back and experience their heritage. So there's always, every school in Japan, you can, it depends, but you can apply and there's like 2-week programs. It's like come back and experience Japanese school. If you're of Japanese descent, it's really easy to do that. Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm sure, like you said, it helps. So you're a bilingual family.
Yes.
So it kind of helps with keeping up that. In the household, are you speaking more English or Japanese? Or
we try to speak only Japanese in the house. So, because English is It takes
everywhere.
over. Yeah, once
Yes.
once my son's in public school, he comes home and calls me bro. You know, it's just like it's over. English takes over. So,
Very nice. And what are the kids' favorite things to do when they're over in Japan?
oh my God, they love the food. Especially just like even like snacks, Japanese like popsicles, like everything is just so fun and good. My son is really into Pokemon. Pokemon is huge. We actually, so our house, we don't have a TV at home in the US. We don't have a TV. So they don't get screen time. My son we finally got an iPad maybe last year, for Christmas. But because he's grown up without a screen or a TV, he's not really addicted to it. And he'll do it because his public school, he goes to public school, has a chess program, and there's a chess app where you can practice your chess. And so we got an iPad so he can practice his chess. And there's a couple of things he does Japanese abacus. So he does it for that. When we go to Japan, we want to make it as fun as possible, as in he associates Japan. So I grew up in like I was actually I didn't dislike me being Japanese, but I associated myself being very American, or I wanted to be very American. I am American, but I think I didn't really want to have this Japanese identity for a very long time when I was little, either because I was bullied or made fun of, or a lot of different things when I was growing up. And I wanted my son to have like a association with Japan that was very positive. And so when we do go to Japan, we stay in Airbnb, and the Airbnb has a TV. Okay. So, and he gets to watch Pokemon in Japanese. So all the shows he can watch are in Japanese, but it's the chance that he gets to watch a TV. Like we don't have a TV at home here in the US. And when he gets to go to Japan, like he gets to watch TV in Japanese and different shows in Japanese. And it's just like a perk. So he associates a lot of different things, whether it's being able to go and like go buy milk by himself and come back and feel the independence, or just like the fun snacks and food, and even like he gets to watch shows. Like we wanted to kind of keep that kind of experience and it encourages him. I think Japanese can be a hard language, so it'll continue to kind of motivate him to want to keep up with, especially the reading and writing part of the language, because he knows if he can go and do that, he can read things, he can do a lot more. Yeah.
I'm sure is besides being bilingual to kind of make him feel connected to the heritage and be able to speak when you guys go back there, but is another aspect of why you guys do it, to kind of set him up in his and your other child's future, as they can have that optionality. They can be bilingual, open up the doors of opportunity for translation or whatever that may be. Is another
Yeah.
reason why you're so passionate about it?
Yeah.
For sure. Any tips for people that are out there who are in a similar aspect, and they're thinking, maybe their kids are just being born, or they're going to have kids in the future, but if they want to go down that path, any tips for kind of making that a reality as you
For being
in a house?
bilingual,
Yeah,
or
kind of in a household. So maybe there's somebody
yeah,
else out there listening that is similar.
it's hard. I think we're kind of privileged because my husband and I, we both speak Japanese, and I know we have a lot of friends that are half Japanese or are just half different halves of two different, and it's harder because I think the default language at home ends up being English, because maybe two parents speak different languages, but then the default home language becomes English. I know a lot of people talk about so we're privileged because we can completely make our house Japanese when we're here and force it. Even if our son responds in English, it's going to just come back in Japanese. A lot of people do the one parent, one language rule, where if you're speaking you're that language, like maybe one parent's Spanish, one parent is Chinese, like you're just going to only speak in that language to your child. And you have to be really strict about it, because it's really easy just to reply back in English or just acknowledge the English or the other language. One thing though, and it might be similar for other language, but specifically Japanese, is a different language order than English. Like it's a SVO versus SOV language, like subject, verb, object orders are different. And so it can sound funny sometimes when you're code switching within a sentence. In Japanese, it doesn't sound good. It makes you sound less proficient in that language. I don't want to say uneducated, but it makes you sound like you're not that good at that language. I remember a girlfriend of mine, she's also bilingual, and she told me her parents had a rule. You had to finish the sentence in the language you started in. Maybe you can mix different sentences, but the full sentence needs to, if you start it in one language, you need to finish it in that language. You can't start switching languages within a sentence. Like, I like to read this book. You can't all of a sudden just switch this or book or something into a different language. And I think that helps, trying to not force, but reinforce whenever my son says something like, okay, you got to say the whole thing. And you might switch the next sentence to a different language, but it's okay. You can't just, and they're using in their brain to try to fill in whatever language is easiest for that word that maybe they like forgot in a different language, but it forces them to try to reach for in their brain to make sure you try to find that word for the language, even though it might not be something that comes first. It might pop out in a different language first.
Those are some awesome tips, so for those that were listening, to kind of recap the big ones, one parent, one language, I think is awesome. And then finish that sentence in the language you started. Those are awesome tips out there for those that are thinking about it. And do you get a lot of pushback from the kids as, if they start a sentence one way and they switch it, do you try to correct them then, or how do you guys handle that? And
I'll just reply back in Japanese. I think so. My parents didn't speak English. So my parents weren't that great at English. So I had to speak Japanese, or else I couldn't communicate with my parents. And then for my son, though, he knows I can speak English. He hears me speaking English. So he just replies back in English often. And it's hard. I just have to speak back in Japanese. But he'll speak in Japanese to my husband. So I think that's how we're kind of keeping it for now.
Very nice.
I end up being the English parent, I think. And then my husband's the Japanese parent. Yeah.
No, it's perfect. I mean, everybody has to have their roles, and it's going to work different for every family. But I think, for those out there that are thinking about doing something similar, I think these are a lot of some awesome tips for going down that path. So you mentioned, your kids are 7 and 3, super fun ages for different aspects. What are some of their top interests right now?
Oh my gosh. My 3-year-old, she really, so it's interesting. I'm really not like a princessy, or I don't wear makeup, but she's really into princesses. Yeah, so she's really into princesses. She loves anything her brother is into, and she likes to read. I feel like she's a lot more independent than my son, because she's the second child and she wants to catch up a bit more. My son is into a lot of different things. He loves baseball. He loves Shohei Ohtani from the Dodgers. So that's like a big boom. He loves Pokemon. He loves kind of anything that like a general 7-year-old boy likes to do these days. But he's really good at kind of creatively thinking of things and kind of building things and having ideas. So I try to foster that kind of idea generation and trying to create things.
Have you noticed, there's about a 4-year age gap or so, that the younger one is either trying to or is kind of growing up faster than the first time around, just from trying to mimic the older sibling and trying to think she can do things that are at a faster pace?
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like I was a little bit more, I kind of still am a little bit more helicopter parent like towards my older son, because he's your first, and you're like your first child, you're just hoping they don't die like when they're just born, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And I think the second one, they're gonna be fine. Like, that they're gonna get over a cold, they're gonna get over everything. It's not, so there's a lot less worry involved, and I think I'm a bit more hands off. So she can do a lot more. She has more free reign to do more and challenge herself than maybe my son had the opportunity to. But also she wants to just be involved with everything.
No, definitely. Are there any specific ways that you kind of think about helping them to explore new interests that are out there, or ideas, or kind of opening their horizons? Any tips or tactics that you guys used?
I think my son, since he was really little, I actually took a year off. I was working, and then I actually had my own small consulting company when I was in Japan, and I shut it down, or I folded it, and then I had my son. So I was with my son for a full year, and then we moved to a full year and a half, and then we moved to New York. So I took him to a lot of different places and a lot of different environments, and like whether it's concerts or meeting people or different play centers and things like that. And also his personality is he's very social. Like, he likes to engage, and he likes to make friends and talk with people. He likes the engagement. So I kind of wanted to leverage that and grow that a bit more. So I was always constantly taking him to different things. And when we moved to New York, it's really easy. There's like so many things you can do. There's always like a fun event going on, especially lots of free ones, whether it's with entertainment or at your local library or like zoos or this or that. So I'm always exposing him to do new different things for him to try out and different activities to see if he'll like it.
Very nice. And do you see that your daughter's you mentioned she's into princesses, so I'm guessing that's something different, but do you think she's charging her own path and interests, or sometimes the younger sibling will kind of follow the interests, or are they different personalities?
No, she definitely has a different personality. I think and then I don't think it's a girl boy thing. It might be more of like a second child thing perhaps, but my son, I think he doesn't really care about a lot of things that my second child does. Like I just pick his clothes for him and he'll wear it. Like he doesn't care. My youngest, I think it's her way of asserting like she wants to have control over certain things, like her like she's her own person. So like she has to pick her own outfit. And it's cute until you have to leave the house in, 5 minutes. And she's like, I'm not going to wear this. I need to have that dress that's being washed right now. Kind of. Yeah. So it's interesting to see that she's a lot more particular about a couple of things. Yeah. And she notices details that my son wouldn't have, or she cares about different things. Yeah.
It's always funny to see the different personalities. In our
Yeah.
house, the clothes issue is our oldest not only doesn't care what she's wearing, but she also doesn't care if it's inside out or backwards, or there's no rhyme or reason. So there's that challenge of saying the shirt's on backwards, the shorts are on backwards. It's completely oblivious and does not have a care in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any kind of, as you've gone through parenting for the past 7+ years, a lesson that your kids have taught you that kind of changed the way you see the world?
Oh my gosh. I think, yeah, there's a lot. Your children test you, right? So it's a lot about, and I think it's kind of, it's obviously cliche, but a lot of patience about how human you are. You are human too, and kind of, yeah, I think they've taught me I need to take care of myself more because then it affects them. So yeah, and I think right now I'm always trying to work on this. I think after having kids, it's hard. It's harder. I think because I'm a solid millennial, and I grew up in this like hustle culture after college and then my career and stuff. We're all about like hustling for our jobs. Because when I graduated, it was when Lehman went under. Like, I feel like millennials, you're always afraid of things happening. You live through a lot of like things and disasters happening. And I think they're showing me that I need to slow down. And I see it because I'm prone to booking too many things or not taking time on the weekends just to relax. And I think it's easier once I don't know if you feel this because you're on the cusp, but like when they turn 6 or 7, they can keep themselves entertained a lot longer on their own. But when they're 3, it's still hard. I think like my son can stay at home and with me while I work. I don't have to put him in a camp or find care. Once they're 6, it's like it's a lot easier. I think that gives more breathing room for him to have time that's not planned. I think so. They've taught me that the importance that you don't have to have everything planned out.
Definitely, those are all valuable lessons. Was it tough? So you mentioned when you first got pregnant, you left work for a while to be able to help raise a kid. Was it tough to then go back?
Oh my gosh, really tough. Yeah. But I think I made it tough for myself too. We were living in Japan and I felt a bit stagnant as well. And I wanted some like inspiration and I wanted to kind of feel, I think, you feel the most alive when you probably work through hardship. And I purposely probably wanted to give myself some hardship, not to like back. So I told my husband, well, let's move to America. And so we moved to New York, which is like the hardest place. It's like grueling, right? And I wanted kickstart some kind of like I'm alive kind of feeling. And we both left our jobs. We both moved to New York. Then COVID hit, and then we had to find work. So it was really hard, but I think it's rewarding. The kind of if you can make it it's a little bit, if you can make it, you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Like if I can figure this out, I feel like I can do anything. And after living in Japan for so long, I felt like maybe I needed a reminder of that, and I did it in a hard way. Like, you don't need to put yourself through that to, remind yourself you can do things.
And do you feel, so now you're at Breeze on kind of
Yes.
the partnership side of things, and do you feel kind of you have that proper balance between kind of the work life, home life balance, and being able to, I guess there's also a balance in being able to say, hey, you want to show your kids hard work and you have to go, have responsibility, but also like you said,
Yeah.
you want to be able to be home. Do you feel like you kind of have a good balance there now?
Yeah. So Breeze is fully remote. So that's wonderful, especially for anyone that has kids, like fully remote. I do miss in-person aspects, and obviously our marketing lead, Danny, he's in New York as well, so we get to meet up and have that kind of, at least within the company. We have a social meeting once a month as well between all the team members that are all global. But yeah, Breeze has been an incredible opportunity for me to be able to work and contribute in Bitcoin and in Lightning and for Bitcoin payments, but also be able to have flexibility around raising kids. So yeah, it's been great.
Very nice. Dear kids, so being in kind of the Bitcoin Lightning payment space, are your kids starting to ask any questions about, what you do or kind of the Bitcoin side
Not
of things, or not yet?
a little bit, not really. I mean, they've asked a little bit, or my son has asked a little bit, and they, yeah, I think he's still, I think when you're probably 4, 5, 6, like the bigger the number, the better. So I think I gave him some sats for doing something, and it was like 2,000 sats, but he was like, "Oh my gosh, I have $2,000." Like I think it's just like, and I think he still thinks he has a lot. And I've explained Bitcoin is money. I think he told like a friend, and a friend said actually Bitcoin's a place. I don't know. They're talking, and he's like, so and so said it, Bitcoin's a place. I'm like, oh well, it's actually money. He's like, and I think he was disappointed when I sent him the Bitcoin because it wasn't something he can touch. And I think kids like that, like coin or dollar bill, and he's like, that's it, like I don't have it, like why don't I have it? And you're explaining all these things. They love the book, by the way. I have the two they like fight over it. They love the story, so they're on the bookshelf. But yeah, I still also, Bitcoin is just, for me, it's just money. It's not, I want it to be it's something normal. It's not something that is, I don't know, that's like the gospel necessarily. So for my kids, I kind of treat it as something it's just part of daily life. And, it's something
No,
that's just there.
I think that's one of the best ways to do it. I think you also touched on something important, especially with the kids, having that physical touch. It's part of the reason why we've only created physical products, because, kids like that touch,
Kids
families
like it. Yeah.
like that touch. And the other thing is, I mean, as you're working with companies in the space that are building out Lightning products and payment products. But I think one of the ways that I know our daughter enjoys, like if she gets paid in Bitcoin or whatever, but those graphics on the app, so like maybe the QR code gets scanned and things are popping up and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. I think that
Yeah.
does also help. If your son see, we use our monsters, the monsters are popping up or something like that, or a Pokemon
Yeah.
character is popping up. Those little things as the space develops, I think will be cool to track, especially on the kids side of things. Would
Yeah.
there be, so you're on the partnership side of things. If there's a kid out there who was like, hey, I'd like to do something similar to what Umi's doing, what tips would you give them if they want to go down that pathway for kind of that career readiness side of
To
things?
work in Bitcoin, or
Not necessarily Bitcoin, but kind of have your type of job. So, working with partnerships and marketing and anything out there for career
yeah.
planning.
So I guess my trajectory, it's ended up in kind of like sales BD partnerships. They all sometimes blend and mean the same thing, but it's a job that I think fits well with interacting with people and then talking with people. But I think every job kind of now requires that, if you have that empathy of being able to empathize with the other party and understand maybe where their needs, priorities, or problems are, and how you can maybe answer it or fix it or help be a solution and support it, and you enjoy that, then it's a good role. But I think, especially if you mention like kids, I remember when I was little, and I don't know if kids still do this. Do science fairs still exist? Do kids do science fairs?
I'm guessing they probably do.
Right? Like in middle school, or maybe there's high school ones, but I distinctly remember like in middle school, you do a science
Me
fair
too.
project and you have like the board, the trifold board. And then I remember loving presenting my science fair project. And there's judges that walk around the gym or cafeteria, and you'll have to pitch your science fair project and explain what you did. They'll grade you, and if you're good enough, you get to go to like the next like state science fair, or like there's national science fair things. And I remember enjoying talking and presenting. And I think that was the first time I actually, you have to convince the judges that your science fair project is better than everybody else's, right? So I think I really enjoyed that, and that's kind of led me into, that's basically what I do today. I present Bitcoin payments, I present Breeze, and then, hope that not hope, but like convince that it's something that, they need to implement or work with, or it's an innovation of the future that they need to at least acknowledge. So if you enjoy that, if you enjoyed speaking with other people and receiving feedback and kind of like that back and forth, I think there's definitely careers you can explore, starting with any kind of sales or BD or partnerships.
Very nice. And who knows, maybe one day you'll make the first lightning payment from the moon. So you can make both your childhood dream and your current job merge together down the line. And kind of looking back, is there a piece of advice you'd give to your younger self about family life?
I don't know. That's a good question. Like looking back to my younger self about family life, actually, I feel like for me, it's almost the opposite. Like I need to sometimes like stop and remind myself of my younger self giving me advice, instead of, I feel like to advice to my younger self, because I think it's hard. Like parenting is hard, especially now. I don't know, the world, like maybe not the way the world is now, but it's parenting is really, really, it's hard. It's not easy. And if you have a lot of resources around, like we don't have parents and family around us to help out, like I feel like I need to take a step back and remind myself of when I was a kid, and like what would my younger self say to me. And it's almost like it's okay. Like it's okay that like things don't have to be perfect. Yeah. And things can get like chaotic and like messy, and it's fine. Because I need to, yeah, I would remind, if it was more like my younger self for like career wise or like working, I would be like, you don't have to hustle that hard. But that's probably what got me here. So it's like, you don't have to like care, and like it's I think I learned, but I learned all those lessons, like, like some companies you're just a cog in the wheel, and I felt that you've probably heard of 3/11 when Japan had the nuclear disaster and a huge earthquake, 2011 in March. And during that time, I was working at JP Morgan, and I was a sales trader. I traded Japanese equities for offshore funds like hedge funds and pension funds. So I come from a TradFi background, and I was on like a high floor, I think in like the 30s in central Tokyo, kind of like the Wall Street area of Tokyo. And the earthquake hit just after just before 3 p.m., before the markets closed, and the buildings started swaying. You're on, and you see all the buildings outside they're all on these rollers. They're earthquake proof, so that any kind of earthquake, it travels up and gets released. So the buildings are all like swaying like this, and you're swaying, and my desk is falling, and everything is falling, and you feel like you're about to die. And then the stocks I was trading for my clients are all sinking, like tanking, like all this stuff, and it was crazy. And back then it was 2011. It's not remote work. So they told us it was business as usual, BAU, and you had to come into the office. It was a Friday. You had to come into the office on Monday. And like a lot of people left, like there's a nuclear disaster, like all the French traders fled to France, and like everybody went back home to their home country. But I was like, my parents are like, come home, back to California. I'm like, this is my job. I can't just leave I was like very loyal. I'm like, I can't just leave my job. And then you realize like your job doesn't care about you. Like they really don't care. They care about making money, and that's it. And I think like little things like that, I would tell my younger self, you're more important. You're important than that.
That's
Like, like then what then it's a job is a job in that sense. So
take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. Yeah.
No, I think that's perfect advice. No, all very valuable for the younger self and the older selves that are out there listening to it to learn from. So before we move on to the final two questions, I'll just remind everybody, they can visit shamri.com, use code BFF show for 10% off. We'd love to send you the books that Umi mentioned, our stuffies, our game, anything else. So please feel free to use that code for 10% off. And we'll wrap things up like we always do with the final two questions, with the first being, a common saying in the Bitcoin space is Bitcoin is time. Another belief is that time is the scarcest asset the world has ever created. So playing off of all of that, what's the biggest gift of time that learning about Bitcoin has provided your family?
Biggest gift of time? What sense?
In any sense, I guess the first thing that comes to your mind. So is it more, being able to have flexibility to spend more time with your kids, or being able to value certain things that maybe you didn't think of before? So it can really go anywhere.
I think with time, obviously, I think I'm always trying to figure out ways to kind of slow down time and be able to be more present with my kids. So I don't think it's necessarily something that Bitcoin has taught me. I think maybe my personality and my values have always been aligned with how Bitcoin works and operates, and it's just kind of a natural fit that, I'm in the way that I live. I think, Bitcoin I think it's not necessarily time, but the fact that you don't have to worry so much about inflation and things like that makes me feel a bit more comfortable with how maybe my kids can spend their time. I think maybe I'm a bad example because I still can't break out of this millennial, just workaholic kind of mentality. But I feel like it'll offer my kids a better way to value their time.
That's a beautiful way to think about it, I'd say. So perfect there. And the final question, which may be interesting since you're working on Lightning and wallet payments. If you had one Bitcoin to give each of your kids, at what age would you give them the keys and why?
I don't know. It's probably different for different kids depending on their maturity and their personality as well. I feel like whenever I feel that my kids have the responsibility, they understand what they need to do to keep it protected, and they're able to do that. It might be at an earlier age than most people expect. We'll see. Yeah.
Yep. Well, perfect. And, I'm sure Breeze is out there working with so many awesome companies in the space to make those, the wallet infrastructure even easier and simpler to use as our kids grow up and start using Bitcoin for themselves in a true way without us overseeing it. Well, perfect.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome conversation. I'm sure everybody enjoyed getting to know you and the family a bunch. And, glad we were able to make it to happen. It means a lot for you to be here as we kick off the show. Glad Danny made that connection.
Yes.
I'll be sure to link to you in the show notes. Any other places you want to send people or final words for the audience?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, shameless plug. I feel like Breeze is an incredible company. We have really amazing technology that's all free and open source. Our values are all kind of Bitcoin ethos of free and open source technology for self-custodial Lightning payments. So if there's anyone out there that would ever want to build with Bitcoin payments, definitely recommend taking a look at our documentation. We've made it really easy, especially with AI now. You can kind of vibe code payments into anything. So I feel like it's really cool because right now we're at a place, especially with AI, where anyone can turn an idea into an app or utility. And with the Breeze SDK now, you can have value transfer. And I think what's really cool that it's hard for even me you can't articulate it, is a world where obviously it's a Bitcoin standard and value transfer is happening self-custodially in ways we couldn't imagine before. So it's revolution. It's taking payments to another level. It's not just payments, which is just settling perhaps a debt, right? That I owe you something, but it's value transfer that's happening in real time and what that could unlock. We don't even know the use cases that could happen. Yeah, I think long-winded way of saying, check out the Breeze SDK. There's a lot of cool things happening. I think I'm really excited for the future of our kids' generations and what's going to happen there that we can't even foresee.
Perfect. And I will also put a plug out there. I think it's either episode 3 or 4 of our show. We had Francisco from Yopaki.
Yes, I love Francisco.
Show. Yeah, so Yopaki, I know, utilizes the Breeze services. I believe Francisco was on Danny's. Also, I believe Danny hosts your guys' podcast.
Yes,
I think there was an episode with Francisco on there too. So be sure to go check out Danny and all of his episodes. And Danny, if you're listening, we will be sure to get you on this show as well to talk about your family life now that Umi's been on. So yes, shameless plug for Breeze and the podcast, and go check out that episode with Francisco if you want to get to know somebody else utilizing the Breeze technology within Yopaki, and then get to know Francisco better since he's an awesome builder in the Bitcoin space as well. Well, perfect. I'll link to all that fun stuff in the notes. Thanks again for being there, and thanks to everybody for watching or listening. Check you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, thanks for joining. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a good review. And buy your kids some stuff at sawmary.com today. Bye. 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 Bye.